Good afternoon, you wild weirdos and weirdettes out there in Wild Weird Radio Land. It's Ron. That's Joe over there.
What's up?
And we are here for another kickoff to an amazing weekend. Another amazing summer weekend. It finally stopped, having these terrible, terrible storms. We have a little bit of rain here and there, but, for the most part, the apocalyptic rains have stopped.
The storms have stopped for at least the next 2 hours. It feels like.
Yeah.
Oh man. So how's everybody doing? I hope y'all are doing good. Ron, how's your week been?
Week's been good. Just been working on getting some stuff done for the Saucers over Appalachia thing we're going to do this weekend. Got some goodies made for that. Got our cards done this week. So all you wild weirdos and weirdettes, these are your cards for the meeting. They're all here now. Not all of them, but most of them are here now. There's still more I have to make, about 5 or 6 more. Just getting ready for the show, man. Just got a bunch of stuff in there. I got a presentation locked and loaded. It's ready to roll. So I don't know. We might end up changing it after this because there's obviously nothing to report.
Well, the same thing happened the last time we spoke at the UFO festival. It seems like early June is a hot time for the UFO crazy train.
It is,
and this year's no different. I've been working on all kinds of stuff. I've got the big jewelry tower finished and ready. I've got some special stuff whipped up over here, and different UFO crash sites and things like that. And then I've been working on some set pieces, we'll call them.
Very cool. Very cool. So everybody's going to have a good time. Come on down and see us. We'll have the booth set up. We'll be doing some stuff. We'll have, from what I understand, Zorp and Cargon will be running around there from time to time. So you'll get to have your pictures taken with those goofballs. Also, I do believe we are gearing up, like I said, for our own event. That will be the meeting next weekend, correct?
Next weekend.
Yes.
Next Saturday, June the 21st, the House Rangers Collective meeting number 2.
Steve Ward's going to be on hand to take all your questions about House Rangers. He's got a presentation he's working out just for you guys. So that'll be a fun one. Let's get this thing shared out. We have a very big story tonight. It's been breaking all week. We've been trying to stay on top of it, and it's literally still breaking.
It's falling apart is what it's doing.
It's crazy. There's going to be links in the description for you to go follow. There's going to be, it's all there. It's all there. So I suggest you go watch it while some of it is there, before the story changes some more, because it's probably going to. I mean, this is.
It's changed just since Monday.
Yeah, there's going to be some changes that come along with this. So I have set our goals back up there, obviously set up there. They're at 10 goals for the show, and that's everything's going to go toward the next meeting, not this one. We were good on it. It's the next meeting after it, because we're already planning for that. And we have some big plans for that. So let's see if we can do it. I don't know. We do. We'll see if we can do it.
We got West Virginia Bigfoot Project kicking it open here.
Bring them in.
The first one of the night.
Let's get some people up here.
I'm going to throw you one out here, West Virginia Bigfoot. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Again, this is going towards next meeting. Figured I'd throw you guys out a standard issue U.S. Air Force jellyfish.
That's a class 7, Joe. That's a class 7. All right. I have put your comments up. That way you guys can see yourself over here. If you are new to this, please jump in the conversation. This is a conversation. This is a very different live than most lives. We'll stay on topic as far as we can, but You guys are running the show, so we kind of go with you guys. If you got
Yep.
questions, we'll address those questions, and we'll keep going from there. This one's gonna be a little different. It is a special report. There's a lot going on, like I said. So we're gonna get you guys called out, and then we're gonna jump right into it. Joe, welcome these folks in.
We've got Donna in the house. Enzo's here. Dances is in the house. Then Jordan Booker made it on time this week. Good job. Good job. Your stickers are going to come back. Jen's in the house. We've got Linda Sigmund hanging out. Scott Holbrook, what's going on, brother? Uveru's here. Vincent Ellison made it. Terry McCullough, Michael Tovar, what's going on, Michael? Good to see you. LR, what's up, brother? Good to see you. By the way, folks, we did, in fact, get the oscilloscope. Thanks to our good buddy LR. He hooked us up there and got it taken care of, and we were able to seal the deal. So can't wait to deploy that bad boy. Then we've got Power Band in the house. Anita Allen is here. Oz in the Woods, of course, is here. Whoa, stay on topic. I am unfamiliar with this concept. What's going on, guys? Good to see you.
It's a strange one.
The good old folks at Hellbent Holler, most likely Joe is here.
Hellbent Holler.
As I assume it being a Thursday and the first day of the weekend, Jess is probably at work.
Hellbent Holler? I've never heard of them.
I know their hat. I've been wearing it all week at work. It's sitting on my desk. So it's good times, good times.
Yeah. Okay. Are we ready to kick this thing off? Because boy, is it
Yeah, we've got a load. This
It's a
thing is a big heavy lift we got to do. So
okay. So how many of you guys are aware that UFOs were explained away right now this week? How many of you guys are aware that UFOs were explained away this week? I need you to chime in right now and say, yeah, I'm aware of that, or what? It's one of those two, because that's kind of how it is.
right.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh, Powerman was aware.
It was just a prank, bro.
Boy, was it.
I mean, I'm so thrilled that now, I mean, we don't have anything we have to look into.
No, I mean, we have free time. We can go
Mhm.
out now and just do whatever we want, I mean,
We can go hike and just go hike.
right. Well,
We don't have to take Geiger counters out with us just for straight
no.
radiation, because it's basically it's all known.
Yeah, it's all known, man. It's all known. So, for those who don't know, I'm going to go ahead and pop up our first image, and Joe, you can lay into this. It's right over here. Let me find it first. It starts over here. This is really a complicated show, so bear with us. This is what kicked it all off.
Pentagon disinformation that fueled America's UFO mythology.
Now, it was published on June 6th, and this is from the Wall Street Journal.
Indeed. A tiny Pentagon office had spent
Oh, wait, a better one. Hang on. Here you go. You read that one.
A tiny Pentagon office had spent months investigating conspiracy theories about secret Washington UFO programs when it uncovered a shocking truth. At least one of those theories had been fueled by the Pentagon itself. The congressionally ordered probe took investigators back to the 1980s when the Air Force colonel visited a bar near Area 51, atop a secret site in Nevada desert. He gave the owner photos that might be flying saucers. The photos went up on the walls, and into the local lore went the idea that the U.S. military was secretly testing recovered alien technology. But the colonel was on a mission of disinformation. The photos were doctored. The now retired officer confessed to the Pentagon investigators in 2023. The whole exercise was a ruse to protect what was really going on at Area 51. The Air Force was using the site to develop top secret stealth fighters, viewed as a critical edge against the Soviet Union. Military leaders were worried that the programs might get exposed if locals somehow glimpsed a test flight of, say, the F-117 stealth fighter, an aircraft that truly did look out of this world. better than they believe it came from Andromeda. Guys,
have you ever, I'm going to stop it right here for just 1 second. Have any of you ever heard that they come from Andromeda? Like,
only in
that,
the believer groups.
right, right. Other than that, like, have you particularly? That's not what we typically associate this with.
No,
Yeah,
no, not.
not,
Now,
no.
in
Let's
fact,
see. Yeah,
a
I'd
Wall
start
Street
there.
Journal
Mm-hmm.
investigation reveals the
Yep.
report itself amounted to a cover up, but not in the way the UFO conspiracy theory industry would have people believe. I like how they called it an industry.
Yeah, it's an industry. Do you know that means that there must be like production staffs and crews and money?
The public disclosure left out the truth behind some of the fundamental myths about UFOs. The Pentagon itself sometimes deliberately fanned the flames
Yeah.
in what amounted to the U.S. government targeting its
Mhm.
own citizens with disinformation, which is constitutionally illegal.
Uh-huh. Anyway, I like some of these responses. This alleged cover up is part of the cover up. That's
Yep.
exactly what someone trying to cover up the UFOs would say. This is a cover up of a cover up. And yes, it is. It's a cover up of a cover up of a cover up. Back in the, when I was playing with the band, we had a song called Cover Up, by the way. And, one of the lead vocals in it was, they did a good job covering it up. My God, they did do a good job of covering this up. But they did a terrible job this time. I think now we're just going to go right ahead and I'm just going to show some of these clips really quick to let you guys see. This is the briefing. We're just going to listen to some of the other folks talking about this. But basically, what it's saying is that there's no evidence. They found no evidence. I want you to read the first part of that. A Pentagon report released in 2024 found no evidence of a cover up regarding the extraterrestrial life, but omitted how the government had perpetuated UFO myths throughout deliberate disinformation, and this omission led to accusations that the report itself was an attempt at a cover up. That back. Yeah. Okay. So here's the thing. You've heard me say the last sandwich thing multiple times. We hear somebody else talk about that here in a little bit. You can hear that in a clip. So last sandwich has been verified.
Indeed.
Here's the thing. This is so confusing. You couldn't get any more confusing than what we're about to dive into here. So just try to stay on track.
Confusing.
It's infuriating.
It's very frustrating,
Yeah.
borderline infuriating. It's so convoluted, and the mental gymnastics you have to complete.
Yeah.
To make it make sense.
Well, I think that Joe's got it right there. Cover-ups. The whole goal is to make you frustrated and no longer pay attention to phenomena. It is. Yeah. It's like, this is too much drama. I'm out. And we've seen that before with stuff in the past.
We're lying about UFOs before, bro, to cover up our top secret plans and stuff. But the cover up worked so well that we decided to let you guys know that we were lying before, but not now.
Trust us. Trust us now.
Yeah.
Folks, this is absolutely unbelievable. So I'm going to add this to the stage. This one's from News Nation. And we're going to play this clip here for you first. And as I've said,
Terry got it. That's a UFO. That's not a UFO that only shows up on thermal imager. It's a myth.
It's a total myth. It's a complete myth. We're chasing ghosts.
The Journal also goes a step further and claims the Pentagon even lied to some of its own employees, sometimes in so-called hazing rituals. One military officer was reportedly told he would be, quote, jailed or executed if he told anyone about his briefing on a secret alien project. Both the briefing and the project were reportedly fake.
Okay. Reportedly fake. Now we're not going to even touch this yet because there's more evidence that just popped up about this. And this is from the deputy director himself of ARRO, in his own words, in an interview that he conducted. thanks to Patrick over there at Vetted. He grabbed this and put it up. I have the link down here. I have to
he did the interview with Green Street.
Yeah.
And I watched the entire Green Street episode yesterday, and it was like pulling teeth.
It's you want to talk about infuriating? It's infuriating.
And
So
Green Street sitting there like, I don't like Green Street.
right.
Flat out.
Right.
We all know who Green Street is. We know we know his MO.
Yeah. Debunk. Sure.
Yeah. And so he was just eating this up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And this guy's playing right into it. So only reason I have these clips is I want you to listen to what he says, how he says it, and watch. Just watch, and you'll understand how desperate this is to make you believe this lie. It is unbelievable.
You had a generation of officers that were briefed into this UFO exploitation program and didn't know it was just a joke or hazing. Witnesses, there was real fear, that what they saw or observed, they would be harmed if they shared that with us. They were scared to death and paranoid about, and we're just trying to understand the truth. And these people had sincere beliefs that there was some covert black cop, that if they revealed the truth about aliens, then someone's going to go out there and eliminate them.
Okay. I want reactions right now. I want you chime in. We've already had this conversation. We'll have it with you now, but we've already had this conversation.
It has never been a secret ever for anybody that I served in the United States Air Force for 8.5 years. I got a LOR. That is a letter of reprimand, i.e., I got in trouble. I got pulled on the carpet. I got yelled at. I had the knife hand thrown up for how inappropriate it was to send a fresh, new trainee after avionics fluid. Think about that. I just sent him on a wild goose chase just to go see how long he would stay gone looking for avionics fluid. And I did it because, the same thing happened to me. When I came out of training and got my first duty set, I got sent after all kinds of ridiculous stuff that didn't exist. And I believed them because there were ridiculous things that did exist, like $25,000 nut and bolt combos. So I just assumed these guys knew what they were talking about. Now, I got in trouble. My trainer got in trouble. Because, the way it worked is you had your trainer, your journeyman, trainee. And the guy that was training me also got in trouble over something like avionics fluid. It was a joke. It's like sending somebody after headlight fluid, These guys were literally threatening officers' lives to haze them.
Officers, enlisted, who knows who else. He said it went into the thousands, Joe. Yeah. Thousands. And how did it all start? Let me show you how it all started according to this guy. Here's what he says. This is what he says.
There was a false UAP program. It was an incident that started out in the Air Force. It was an anti-gravity motor that was developed from alien crash retrieval. It was hazing. It was a joke. It wasn't real. You would have been knocked your socks off to look at the the alien space and the craft, and the way they did it was a Hollywood produced stuff. It was great.
Glad to know my tax dollars were allegedly spent on a Hollywood production just to prank some people.
Yeah, right. I mean, the sheer thrill that has gone into just talking about this. Now, none of this was ever made public until this week, by the way, and some not until just today. Um, this is unbelievable, but we have more. Don't worry. There's a lot more reactions to this. We have actually some people who came out first on this whole subject and said no, that's not right. One of those was Ryan Graves, and he speaks about this hazing thing as well.
The base core presumption that this whole issue is caused from some in briefings that were done in a hazing fashion in order to, well, I'm not really sure why, other than to potentially confuse secret technology.
Of Ryan, I think the hilarious thing about this, it's such a joke, this Wall Street Journal article, because it's effectively admitting what we've known for years, which is that there are people, gatekeepers to this secret about this legacy UAP program, who have been lying to and deceiving the American public for years. And now it's official from one of the most senior people who served as the person in charge of investigating UAPs.
I don't think this is going to work out the way they think it's going to work out.
I think this is going to, I'm dead serious. If this all shakes out and it becomes the accepted narrative,
yeah,
I am going to write a congressional letter.
Yeah.
And I'm going to formally request that my record be expunged of the LOR from when I was in aircraft maintenance and sent a guy after avionics fluid. Because, I mean, they sat and grilled us, and it, mind you, the time was a very sensitive time, and there was some crazy stuff going on in the world at the time, too. But still, this was Cold War era tomfoolery, technically.
Yeah.
So it was even worse. And they were threatening people's lives.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, guys, let's get some comments up here while I start to load up the next part of this.
Joe says this guy sounds like a guy who is capable of implementing a decades-long cover-up involving thousands of people and untold billions of dollars, right?
Yeah.
Right? Enzo says in aircraft maintenance, we had an echo check. The echo check. When a newbie would yell into the intake and listen for the echo in the exhaust. You aren't doing it fast enough. Run faster. Oh, man. Good times. I think they're just trying a new tactic because they don't want us to know they're not in control of what's out there. That's a very, very hot take. I like that. Green Street looked like he had been filmed from the waist up because he was so happy with that interview. Oh, man. Spooky. Yeah, who all's mad? I'm mad. Ron's mad. We're all mad. Everybody's mad now. Turn signal fluid. It's a rite of passage, right? I got an LOR for that crap, and these guys are over here threatening people's lives and their families' lives. And it's just like, oh, that's fun. Don't worry about it. Michael Tovar says cover up so that no other country has the knowledge of the reverse technology U.S. military and government are hiding. At least say yes, aliens are real. Give us that much.
Look, it's quite clear, Elizabeth, that someone in the Pentagon has tailored what is quite clearly deliberate disinformation just to confuse the public. One of the other things they've done in this story that the Wall Street Journal aired without any kind of sensible investigation was claims that an electromagnetic pulse test weapon was used against an active thermonuclear missile site in 1967. And they do this to try and explain away what Bob Salas, a captain in the Air Force at the time, describes he saw, which was a missile being shut down by a UAP.
So they go after Salas, and I'm going to load up Salas's stuff because I want you to hear Salas's take on this. And this is from an interview that he conducted back before he actually, I think it was before one of the hearings where he was really getting amped up and he was going to go out and tell this story. So let me find that for you. Bob Salas. And for you guys who don't know who that is, Bob was he was the officer in charge of was it Echo Flight? I think, right? March 24th, 1967. I believe that was it. We did a whole episode on this. Like, we did a whole episode on UFOs and nukes. Go back and watch that because it's really in depth. His whole story is in there. Is when he first started to come out and talk about this stuff. And let me get this for you. 13.
Missiles are actually located about a mile or so away from a central hub called the Launch Control Center. So there were about 10 missiles surrounding this hub. One of the missiles went down, an Echo flight. Fiegel called out there and asked what was going on. The guards said, or the maintenance people said, that they didn't do anything to shut down the missile. And by the way, there's a UFO hovering overhead. And at that point, all 10 of his missiles started going down. He lost all 10 within seconds.
Yep. I'm loading up clip number 2 for you. So what he's saying here is, there's this UFO, right? And all of a sudden, the nukes that he's in charge of, they don't work no more. In fact, they just go down. I'm loading up our next clip, and here it is.
That was the first incident. And then 8 days later, I was on alert status at another flight we called Oscar flight. And I got a call first from my topside guard. We had 6 guards upstairs. And he called down and said, "Sir, we've been seeing some strange lights in the sky, going very fast, stopping on a dime, and then reversing course, making 90-degree turns, making no engine sound. So they're not."
Sound familiar?
I mean, yeah. Sounds pretty darn familiar to me. How about you guys? Now, that was 2 flights. That's what he was talking about there, by the way. So this happened multiple times. This was not just a one-off event. It also happened in again, if you go watch that episode that we did a few years ago, there are multiple sites, not just Minuteman sites. There were Atlas sites up into the 80s where this kind of stuff happened. There was an incident over in, it was in Ukraine, actually, back, right? Where the missiles actually armed.
They did the reverse of our system.
They did the reverse of our system.
Where ours were taken on offline, theirs all came online.
And then went off just as soon as this light disappeared. These guys thought they were, getting ready to, these things were going to launch and that was going to be the end. And this thing just disappears and, it shuts down. Here's some more.
But within 5 minutes, he calls back, and this time he's screaming into the phone. He's frightened, obviously frightened. He's got all the guys, the guards out there with their weapons drawn, and he's babbling at first. I couldn't make much sense out of him. Finally calmed him down, and he said that we're looking at a glowing and pulsating red light object hovering above the front gate, about 40, 50 feet in diameter. It seemed to be oval shaped, although it was hard to see within the brightness of this light. We heard these bells and whistles going off, klaxons really, and looked over at our status board, and sure enough, the missiles were going off alert while this object was still up there. We lost all 10 of our missiles within seconds.
Yeah. Again, this is from an old interview. It's from Project Unity. Go back and watch it. They have very few views. I don't know why. This is something that, you would think a lot of people had seen, I mean, no. And yes, they wanted to say that this was all from a device on a 60-some foot tower where these 2 electrodes basically faced each other and produced a glowing sphere of plasma, which eventually erupted into like lightning, created an EMP, and they were testing these systems because that's how they were trying to, prepare it for how it would react during a nuclear attack, because it would be an EMP. Now,
You
Here's
don't
the
just
thing.
go and pop up one of these things overnight.
No, you don't pop them up. And I'm pretty sure the guards would have noticed that. The guards also said that this thing was moving. You know, it wasn't stationary. But then, you know, the bad thing is Bob can't really talk to the guards, and that bothered him a lot. And here's that little clip.
The next day, we had to report to our commander and fellow from Air Force Office of Special Investigation. Shoved a piece of paper in our faces, said, "Sign here. You're never to speak of this again, ever." So we were forced to sign that. And I did not speak of it for about 27 years.
Yeah.
The guards tried to contact me the next day, and they actually begged me to come see them and speak to them about what I knew about the situation, because obviously they'd been frightened by it. They didn't know how to explain it to themselves. And I had to turn them down. I had to, I told them I couldn't talk about it.
Does that sound like hazing to you?
No, if it was hazing, then this is like one of the most deep-seated jokes in history that is not even funny. It's nefarious.
We're talking about, okay, let me put this into perspective for you. Okay. That was in the heart of the Cold War. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Fingers on the button. You know, this was, you know, eve of destruction time. All right. And we're going to take off how many percent of our nuclear arsenal was that? It had to be massive. I know it's just 10 flights, but people, those are multiple. Those are MIRVs. Those are multiple reentry vehicles in those those things. They have multiple warheads in each one of those missiles.
Right.
So you are literally taking down an entire flight of a deterrent weapon. You know, that's what we considered them at the time. And for what? You had already had these tests. You wouldn't have built a nuclear, you know, a control launch facility. You wouldn't have put it underground. You wouldn't have did all this stuff if you didn't already have it hardened from potential EMP pulses.
Right.
This makes no sense. None. And there's a lot. I was doing a little bit of research on Bob Salas, and there's entire arguments over on the wiki on the sites about him, where someone had went in and changed a lot of his data. They considered him to be a hoaxer. Like, they attacked his credibility. It's absolutely ludicrous. I guess that's how you know when you've hit the right, you know, you're over the target, so to speak.
Yeah. Hellbent says if we had tic-tac technology and the material science and propulsion, then we wouldn't be trying to cover up anything at all, ever. Yeah, we're harvesting kids for adrenochrome.
Oh my God. Right.
Oh man. You know, we made that argument a couple weeks ago when that one congressional member steps up and says that he'd been shown footage of something from Lockheed and
Burleson. That's Burleson.
And I went on, Burleson. And I went on a tirade that if we had that technology, not just had it, but mastered it in 2004, why were my friends being killed in Afghanistan and in Iraq? Why did Larry get blown up? You know, if we had that technology and that's what we were doing, and they're not over there playing tiddlywinks with the U.S. Navy with this technology. We're not doing that. This isn't a blue on blue fight. No. This is
it's absolutely infuriating. But one of the more funny parts of this story is, as you heard, was that the whole Area 51 thing came from this disinformation guy who basically goes into the one of the bars there, probably the Little Alien. I kind of guess that's probably where it was. Which is in Rachel, Nevada,
it's
right outside.
There was actually an interview that came out yesterday.
Yeah.
And the people who currently ran the Little Alien were showing those photos.
So, you know, that's where it came from, but that's not where the story of Area 51 came from at all. Excuse me. And well, we have somebody here who can probably address that a little bit better than most people. I have some clips here. This is from a weaponized episode dealing with this week, because everybody's been jumping on this thing, and he had every right to, I think, jump on this one. So here you go.
That the whole myth about saucers out at Groom Lake or near there is because a colonel in the Air Force went to a bar. We know what that bar is. It's in Rachel. It's the only bar out there, which was called the Rachel Bar and Grill in the 80s. And he gave them some photos of what he said were real UFOs, and they put them on the wall, and that's how the story spread. And what they wanted to do was discourage attention away from the the stealth fighter, the F-117 that was being developed out there at Area 51. Well, that is not how the story started. It came from insiders in the base, not from people outside who saw photos on a bar wall. B, let's say that was their plan. Okay, we'll tell people there's UFOs out there at Area 51, and they'll all just figure, I'm not going to pay any more attention to it. How did that work out?
Yeah, how did that work out? I'm pretty sure there were movies made. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
Um,
Enzo brings up a good point.
Thousands of people have gone out there for year after year in the desert with binoculars looking at whatever is flying around in the sky. Whatever secret projects they had out there, it backfired. I mean, every major news organization in the world has been Area 51 because of this story about flying saucers. Congressional investigators have been there. If they thought they had a secret project they didn't want the public to know about, they really screwed up by telling people there are UFOs out there.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Enzo brings up a good point and said, even if they did perform these tests, they would have wanted a full debrief on what Salas observed and when. He would have been part of the test. Mm-hmm. Certainly, they wouldn't have done it on live nukes.
No. I mean, let's think about that in a logical sense. I'm going to test this thing. We don't know what it's going to do to these nukes, right? We don't have a clue, but we're going to turn this thing on. They might launch. I don't know, but who cares? Because we're going to test this, and if the guards see it, we're just going to tell them it's UFOs. What? Explain that to me.
Yeah.
You explain that to me. You explain to me how that is a legitimate test, that is a safe test, that is that our nuclear weapons are actually run on DOS. Do you know that? They're run on floppy disks. They're little, well, not DOS, but on, floppy disks. Just the old floppies. You know why they're run on those?
Because they're disks.
Because there are absolutely no outside chances that anyone can hack into the systems like war games. That's not going to happen. They're not networked. Yeah. There's a reason. Why do you think that is? Because someone could send a code. Yep. Because someone could do something. Yet it's okay to apparently bombard it with, an EMP just to see what happens. It's either going to shut them down or they're going to go into failsafe, think that there's been a nuclear strike and it's the dead man switch and they're all going to launch.
Those are your two scenarios.
I'm serious. That's it. I'm not a rocket scientist, but I can tell you that's how that works.
Yep.
If I'm wrong, someone correct me, please. But everything I've heard over the years says that yes, there is a go on those things, and that's a thing. If they're taken out, there's like a dead man protocol on those things. I don't know. I've just heard that. What do we got next here? Oh yeah, we have this one. So, the basis of this thing is that there's probably some truth in this though, right, Joe? We talked about that.
Oh yeah. Like I wholeheartedly believe and 100% that UFO colonel went out to a bar and said, here's some pictures and passed those around. Just because I wholeheartedly believe that there probably is a little bit of hazing to go around with the UFO stuff too, but not to the degree of threatening people's families, and not to the degree of
Well,
secret for 20 plus years.
they
And
didn't create it,
never
and
letting them in on the joke.
they're taking credit for creating something that was already there. They could have exploited it, and I have no doubt. And I think Corbell even says that. But yeah, sure, they exploited it. It's just like the drone thing. Why do you think we started calling UAPs drones? You only have to look back to December of last year.
Yeah.
And you can figure this out really quick. This is not rocket science. This is so right in front of your face. So let me find the next clip for us. You guys put your questions, your comments in. We're starring them along the way. When we get to breaks, we'll put them up and we'll start talking about those. So we're not ignoring you. We're just going to get to them as these clips play. Oh yeah, that's this one. Yeah. Well, you've heard it. Like I said, we've talked about it multiple times. Here's someone else who verifies the existence of the last sandwich.
They brought Bob out there as a limited hangout so that he could see all this stuff, and they could show him what they wanted him to see, and then he would tell it to the world because they couldn't, keep all of it a secret. So it's like that Project Serpo crap. You put out a bunch of nonsense, but with the truth hidden in there, so that when the truth does come out, it's embedded in a bunch of nonsense that nobody takes seriously. It works really well. It's hard to sort through all this.
It is. And that's exactly what this is. In my opinion, anyway.
Well, think back last week.
Yeah.
We had Christopher Mellon's public announcement.
Right.
This week we have this announcement.
Right.
Tit for tat. We are playing a game of flick the dominoes to catastrophic disclosure.
I can't disagree with that. We've called this, and we're seeing it play out now. That's kind of what I'm thinking at this point. And one of the more crazy things about this is you and I talked about this, and you said this. You said that sounds like, this is Kirkpatrick. Like that's who you actually recognize that, which is really, really funny. I'm like, no, that wasn't written by Kirkpatrick. But listen to what George Knapp has to say about it.
Because we learned this week that U.S. secret military programs and platforms are the explanation for all that stuff. There are no UFOs. There are no UAPs. All UFO mythology was created by the U.S. Air Force and maybe the CIA.
And my other clip didn't load yet. That would have been a whole lot better. That was a little one. So hang on. Because it goes into this next one. Oh, come on.
So this Wall Street Journal article, I didn't read it for a day or so. I mean, and then I dived in. I was reluctant to do it. I have to tell you, that reporter reached out to me. He reached out to me a number of times. I did talk to him for about 10 or 15 minutes. And in that short period of time, it became very clear what the marching orders were for this piece, what his theme was going to be. Certainly the flavor I got from reading it was that this came from Sean Kirkpatrick, this guy who ran the ARRO program for, just over a year, and who can't seem to let it go.
So when he says that, I'm like, you've got to be kidding me, because it's literally what you said.
Well, if you remember back, it was around November, December timeframe when we were expecting the David Grush article to hit.
That's right.
Kirkpatrick said that he was going to be involved with that somebody was doing an expose on him, and that it was going to chronicle the time in the ARRO and everything like that.
It was after he got out of the program, right?
It was afterwards, after he'd already been fired.
I remember this. Yeah, we actually talked about that.
Yeah,
he left. We don't know if he got fired or not.
No, he got fired. We
don't know. We don't know.
I can't. I guarantee you that he was pushed out. I'd put money on it at this point, especially the way this is shaking out. He's mad at somebody because this ruined his retirement.
Just saying. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, he did say, he was going to put it into this pretty much something like that. I don't
Yeah.
remember the whole
He was
exact
going to
quote,
settle the debate.
but this was ARRO and he ran it. And we have to go back and remember, the whole reason of ARRO. We covered this. In, I think it was 23, right? 2023. I'm pretty sure. Let me find out. So, as I said, we're all mistaken, and we needed the government to tell us this.
Humans are subject to deception and illusions, sensors to unexpected responses and malfunctions, and in some cases, intentional interference. Getting to the handful of cases that pass this level of scrutiny is the mission of ARRO.
That's the mission of ARRO, right? Huh? Is that the mission of ARRO? No, that's not the mission of ARRO.
In other words, ARRO's mission is to turn UAP into SEP, somebody else's problem.
That's the mission of ARRO. I stand by it.
Yeah.
That is their mission. And that's exactly what they did.
They did. At least that's what Sean Kirkpatrick did. He made it someone else's problem. And now, he's out here being interviewed by this journalist for the Wall Street Journal. And apparently this is just part one. So will be a doozy coming, I'm sure. But it's just, well, set so well with you.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole point, because you have to look at it like, well, what exactly is going on? Well, what's happening is, I think that Joe hit it. They're making it so ludicrous that nobody wants to touch this. And you've managed to get it to the point to where people are like, you know what, this is just, I'm not wasting my time. They've pushed it off. They pushed us off to make it somebody else's problem, to make it another generation's problem. We're done. We've got our money from it. We're good. We don't want to touch this. It's not the right time. How do we bury it? We tell them the truth, and then we just say that we lied, telling the truth. I mean, it's brilliant. It'll work. Trust me. And they did. It's exactly what they did. Let me see. This is one from Corbell, I believe, where he's trying to explain or kind of talk about, the purpose of this, these people who want to say, these UFOs are this or that. And they just know, they come in and all of a sudden they're UFO experts. So,
it takes a lot of hubris to assume that you need a couple of weeks to figure this whole thing out, because the topic is big. It takes a long time to get your head around it. It's not simple. It's not one layer, one level. And the premise, I think, of this article is pretty ridiculous, that all this stuff is from the black world. It's our technology. I mean, look, UFOs 101, UFO kindergarten. You learn that 90 to 95% of all UFOs can be prosaically explained. They're clouds, they're balloons, they're planets, they're all sorts of things, and secret technology. That happens. It does happen. But that's the starting point. That's not the end point. It's the other ones, the 5 to 10% that are left over, that are really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's right. And they are there. That's the other big shocker with, the guy who was on there, Timothy, where he comes on and says, oh yeah. Let me see if I have that clip. I have it here somewhere. Alien tech. Oh yeah. Here we go. The ones that they found interesting, Joe. There were some things that they found interesting. Well, I mean, I thought that they created it all, but apparently there were still things that they found interesting.
Some phenomena out there that we just don't understand. Especially, have you heard of the fiery orbs?
No.
Oh yeah.
That when we start seeing like a corona or a discharge, a plasma discharge, and when we've had some of these really, really strange events, from the reports of the security personnel on site, these devices they're attempting to conceal themselves. In one case, when a truck from Mainside was coming out onto the range, this device stopped, hovered, went off the road, and turned its friggin' lights off. Now, to me, that tells me there's a human in the loop or on the loop, because if it was an alien, they could care less. That's not what happened. Okay.
Trust him. He knows that's not what happened because they created aliens.
Yeah.
What?
So why would aliens care? They wouldn't care. Aliens wouldn't care. We created them.
Yeah. So why even bring that up? Again, I can't. I really can't. But I think that it just falls into trying to paint it into this certain category. And I think they did a really good job. Mythology, you heard it. Conspiracy theory, you heard it. And I think George says it best.
I saw in this Wall Street Journal article, they used the term conspiracy industry right up at the top, which that sets it up where anyone who comes forward and says, this is a bunch of crap, I worked in this program and that program, people like Jay Stratton or Jim Lukatsky or Colin Kelleher, who say, this is not true, it's ridiculous. Oh, well, you guys are part of the conspiracy industry. Of course you're going to say that.
So here's your goal. And I want you to pay attention to what's just said right there. Okay. Is that
the Deucer? The Deucer himself. Howdy to all my wild and weird family. There's apparently a colonel in the U.S. Air Force in 1980 also faked the whole crash landing out there that Deucer may or may not have written an entire book about. One of the most exhaustive studies and compilations of data revolving around a particular crash. And that was the very first U.S. Air Force fatality. And apparently, a colonel in 1980 also spread rumors that was all about hazing. And that's why there was a tremendous loss of life, was because of hazing.
That's what it was? Really?
Yeah, that's what they're saying, man.
How did he do that? Did he have a time? Oh, he had an
He had a time machine that they definitely didn't get off of an alien craft.
Yeah, that's what it was. I think we're blowing this mystery open right here.
I think so.
No, this is absolutely ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous is what it is.
Hellman says, if I was a high-ranking Air Force officer, I'd mess with people about UFOs all the time. I would have a movie-quality gray body in my trunk, let people glimpse it out of the gas. Say, oh, I would too, 100%. 100%. If I, we borderline do that now. Let's just be real. But, but yeah, I agree. Anita said that's what they did here in Withville. The locals saw the crafts. Eventually, the Air Force claimed that they were doing stealth bomber refueling training flights.
Mm-hmm. They did.
Except that the crafts couldn't hover.
Right.
The Air Force sent a stealth bomber over that said "Hello, Withville" and lights running across the belly. Please show me where billboard lights that can scroll messages is standard stealth bombers.
Yeah. That costs some money, right, Joe?
Yeah. Well, especially back in the 80s. That was high dollar. Scrolling LED bar.
Yeah, because you don't just, take that and stick it on there. That's not how that works. I mean, you can't even hardly touch that material from what I understand without implications.
Yeah, if anything that you do to the paint application itself will cause it to show up on radar. It has to be near perfect every time. Any kind of like bird poop on the wing, or on the surface, it'll cause a blip.
Yeah. So how many $1 billion was the B-2? Does anyone remember that?
Oh Jesus.
Yeah. Do you see what I'm getting at with this, right? Yeah. So do we just sacrifice a multi-billion-dollar aircraft?
It wouldn't necessarily be the aircraft. It'd just be that paint application. But still, you're talking millions of dollars.
It's millions of dollars.
For a new paint application.
Yeah. We're not talking about you can't go down to the local Lowe's and pick that paint up. I mean, this is special stuff.
It has to be specially mixed. It's a very special paint, and I knew how to do it.
Yeah.
But you know.
No.
You're not.
So Corbell brought up some stuff that me and you had talked about, and we're going to get into that in this part of it as well. And I'll keep weighing in, guys. Questions. Let's get into this.
Enzo said, I initially thought that the Wall Street Journal was implying that Bob Lazar, that Bob Lazar was responsible for the pics at Rachel, and then they said it was an undercover colonel or some foolishness.
Yeah.
Tommy says, I met a fellow who was retired Air Force. He used to work at one of the Minutemen missile pads and was a recipient of one of the launch codes. But anyway, it screwed him up pretty bad, having the stress of being in that position. And then he said that if the public only knew how close we were to nuclear launch, they would be 100%.
Yeah,
We've
absolutely.
talked about that a few times.
Yeah, absolutely. People just, you don't even know. I mean, it's best that you don't. And, things got to keep rolling.
Right here, talk about government conspiracies. Serpo was one of many tales from Richard Doty.
Yep, that's right.
Somebody should ask Richard Doty what he thinks about this now.
He's probably very jealous. A good story.
He's on this team now.
Well, yeah.
Allegedly,
true.
He's on our team now.
No, he's not. Trust me. He's not. He's still very jealous.
So the government spent untold millions to investigate agencies to investigate a cover story that they created.
Mm-hmm.
Got to spend all that black budget money somewhere, man.
Yeah. I mean, this is huge. This is a massive. And, some of those things like we were talking about, they border on even being legal. Like there's some stuff here. And, that's what Corbell was saying about it. What we got here?
So the government tests new technology for propulsion systems all the time. It's easier to let people believe it's a UFO than what they're really doing.
Mm-hmm. And they do.
That was the thing, and still can be in certain areas, particularly around Roswell and Wright-Patterson.
Oh, apparently around New Jersey in December of last year.
It's true.
I'm just saying, if there's something there and you can use it, you're going to use that for a smokescreen. Yes, but they didn't create it.
If this is a big deception campaign, then people are going to be going down for treason. And it's just not. I mean, there might also be disinformation campaigns, obviously, in all directions. But the big picture is that if they knew the truth about this, Kirkpatrick and Phillips and all this stuff, if they knew the truth about this and they were hiding it from the National Security Council, from Congress, and they're running it up on the American people, then that's illegal.
I mean, is it? Or is there a little more, is it a little more complicated than that?
No, it is 100% illegal. Like congressionally, it is illegal, or constitutionally, it is illegal. There are rules that state that you cannot run. Essentially, it's illegal to run like a psyop on the American citizens.
Right, but these weren't American citizens. These were enlisted men. They were under oath, right? They had signed rights.
No, you're still an American citizen. Like you are.
True.
You are an American citizen. Once you take that oath, you're an American citizen. Everywhere you go and everywhere you step is considered American soil. So, like the foot that's under the dirt that's underneath your boot until it lifts is considered American soil. That's how American citizen you are. Once you take that oath, like everywhere you go, you are representative, blah, blah, blah. Sure. You got to wear the suit a certain way. Everything's got to be, and you are like American, right?
But do you have the same rights is what I'm asking.
Some are tighter, but in some ways you have more.
Okay.
You have more liberties to do, and get away with certain activities, but you're also extremely restricted on other activities, i.e. you can't play jokes on people. That is one of the big rules. You can't go out, like you can't even go out and get in a bar fight without going to jail, like military jail.
I know people who did that.
Poke, but I'm talking about like you get put in the military prison.
Yep.
And
I know some folks
they don't
appreciate that. Yep. I agree. And like you said, it was a fight on leave, and they were off to the brig. That was it.
Yeah.
I think they even went down a rank, if I remember right. They're Marines,
they bust you.
Yeah, they were Marines, so they weren't playing.
It don't matter what branch you are. If you get in a fight like that out in public, you're getting a stripe off your shoulder.
Yeah, I think it was drunken intoxication kind of thing too, if I remember
Oh,
right.
then definitely they're getting LORs, they're
Yeah.
getting Article 16s, and they're going to have a shoulder injury.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad from what I understand. But yeah, I mean, that's what I'm getting at. It's like, I want to make sure that you've been there. You know the military life. Some of these folks in the audience do too.
Yeah.
Is this illegal? That's what I want to know. I'm not a lawyer either. Okay. I'm not a rocket scientist. I'm not a lawyer, but I can ask the same questions. I want to know, sitting here, if we're taking this to trial, do we have a case? That's what I want to know.
100% we have a case. And if this does come out and JAG gets a hold of it and they get it to
Explain. Do you just please explain the JAG?
Okay, so JAG is essentially they're like the lawyers for the military.
They are the lawyers
for the
Navy. Military. Yeah.
They're all Navy, and it is a judicial system. They are the ones responsible for upholding and upkeeping the UCMJ, which is the Universal Code of Military Justice. And there are things, basically everything in the UCMJ is punishable by death. That was a joke that we used to always tell, like,
wait, y'all told that joke?
Oh yeah. We would get in trouble too if somebody heard it.
I was going to say, is that a violation? Because from what I'm hearing,
right? So seriously though, if this gets brought, if any of these men who are living or a relative who is now the family member of a living or a survivor of a service member who had one of these jokes pulled on them, allegedly, then they're entitled to some serious compensation. There is some major laws that were broken here, because you can't threaten life or limb.
Okay.
That's one of the big ones. Like, you cannot make idle threats. You can't tell people that, we're going to kill you and your family.
Okay.
Right? Like, that's bad. You can't do that in civilian world.
Okay. I got you.
And here you are doing this in the military. We're like the highest order in the United States. And they're pulling these ridiculous alleged pranks on people, briefing them into things, making them sign NDAs. That's a legally binding contract. That by itself is illegal to have a fraudulent contract.
Okay.
So
basically what you're saying is they are forcing people into contractual agreements beyond, basically they have no choice. They have to sign on the dotted line or else. Okay.
And with the threat of peril.
Gotcha.
Like, this is so illegal, so wrong on so many levels. And if they could nail this down to an individual source, they're going to jail for the rest of their life.
Oh, so we're talking about like serious issue here, like life.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And honestly, like, you would see something happen where the individual, let's just say that this is a colonel or a brigadier commander, who is like, 1 or 2 star general so-and-so or full bird colonel so-and-so. They're going to have their ranks stripped. They're going to have their pensions stripped. They're going to have everything about their career stripped away, and then serve time, and probably have some kind of a financial burden as well. But for the rest of their days, they're going to be turning big rocks into little rocks. And it's so
it's a mess is what you're trying to say.
This is a huge mess.
Okay.
Huge mess. Okay. And I don't think that they even have a clue what they did.
Oh, okay. So it's that bad.
Yep.
I would think that someone,
if this is real, that's the caveat.
If this is real.
That's the caveat. If this is real,
right?
Whoever told them this has no idea the fury that they just unleashed. No idea. Because the Lady Justice is going to balance the scales here.
So what you're telling me is that this could prompt actual hearings, like real public tribunal type hearings.
Yeah, they probably wouldn't be public. These would, because
it's in private. It's military. Yeah.
Got
you. But people would be going
real serious ramifications. Coming from this, if this is able to be authenticated, and that they could isolate it, find the people.
You know, I mean, there are those who are believing it, obviously, which is what it was designed to do. You know, it's designed for that. But here's the thing: not everybody is believing this lie.
Earlier this week, we were talking about unidentified anomalous phenomenon. You were part of that hearing during which lawmakers accused the government of covering up the truth about aliens. You know, and I wanted your perspective on this. What does the public need to know?
They need to know everything, and they should fear a government that doesn't think they're capable of handling what is the truth. We've been turned away as congressmen for stuff that we shouldn't have been. I've seen things that I think would make the average American question their government about what they're holding back from them. You know, I've said all along, it's really not about little green men or flying saucers, ma'am. It's about what are they spending tens of millions of your hard-earned dollars on. They told us these departments did not exist, and yet Lou Elizondo ran a department that did that for over $10 million of the federal money's government's investment. You have a Pentagon that's bloated. It's full of war pimps. They've just failed their seventh audit, and yet how will we punish them? How have we punished them in the past? We've given them more billions actually, of more dollars than they've asked for, and they cannot account for over $1 trillion in assets, ma'am. I mean, that's like they can't account for a battleship, and no one's holding them accountable. They're spending that money on something. They won't issue, they have reports, they give them to us, and they're heavily redacted. They have photographs, they have film, they have footage. We've had sworn testimony to tell us that. And they've also told us this is not any of our enemies or our allies or we don't have the capability. Humans don't even have the capability to survive in the movements. The Tic Tac videos are very evident. They said those videos first didn't exist. Then the pilots came out and said, wait a minute, that's us on there. That's, you know, the guys who are talking. You can hear them talking, the pilots, and I've talked to them. And then they come back and say, well, we don't know what they are. So let's get to the bottom of it. Donald Trump will, in my opinion, with my conversations with him and his people, he will release these files. Let's have transparency. You as a member of the media, that should be your number one concern, is transparency.
And you were mentioning transparency. One last quick question for you before I let you go. Bottom line, is this a national security issue?
100% it is.
All right, there we have.
So it's a national security issue. I
mean, devil's advocate, technically, having people out there doing this kind of stuff, violating universal code, or not universal, but uniform code, that is also a national defense threat internally, because they're causing duress, they're causing undue stress, and you know, somebody's mind is going to be wandering when it should be focused and sharp.
Right. I mean, that puts people's lives at risk.
It does. And
on the line.
You know, if I'm thinking like, oh, just because I saw this, that, you know, my family's at risk now.
Right.
And it was a joke.
Can you get your job done?
No, because I'm going to be sitting there chewing my nails off.
Right. Yeah. Where's the laser going to be pointing? What is, you know? Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, you're 100% right.
Times are going to be slowed down because your mind is occupied in somewhere else.
This makes no sense.
And
Like,
you're sitting here thinking like, here I am. I had to sign this.
yeah,
And if I violate it, if I slip up,
right.
if I get drunk,
Yeah.
and I blab, they're gonna get me.
Yeah, exactly. And again, that's ineffective, in my opinion. And I just don't
But
see, I don't see it.
but a joke wouldn't be considered national defense threat.
So
If it was a foreign adversary, we'd know about that for sure.
yeah,
That already been popped up. It's been now since 2017. We've been looking into this. We'd find out it's almost been 10 years.
that's just publicly. We've been looking into it a lot longer than that.
Well, yeah, it's what Congress has actively been looking into.
Oh yeah,
it,
yeah.
From that standpoint.
Yeah.
And
well, about 2020 is when they got involved.
Right.
Officially.
But national defense has been,
yeah.
They're always on it.
They're on it. Yeah.
And I can't.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it's some good stuff. So this brings up this clip, and we're going to talk a little bit about this.
I just would have one question. What made you look beyond your orders and not follow your oath? Like, what made you do this? Keep this from the American public? What is so scary to you that you are holding this back from the American public and hurting people's lives?
That's a good question. And we kind of talked about that a little bit last week, as I recall.
Yeah.
Kind of preemptively, because we didn't know this was going to drop. This is just something that happened to drop. There's blessings going to Larry Host.
Brother,
Thank you, my
Larry
friend.
heard UCMJ and it summoned him.
Probably.
He felt it in the force.
But yeah, we've got and then the other clip, here's George, and he's saying pretty much the same thing.
Why the secrecy? I mean, I could see it in 1947. We just come out of World War II. The world's a mess. Do you need to share that with the public and tell them there's another intelligence more advanced than us? Why the secrecy now, though?
And it's a great question, because here's my thing to you guys. And, why do I care what you believe? I don't care what you believe. You see, that's the thing. If you want to believe there's little green men, why do I care if you believe that? But right now, they're terrified that you're going to learn something. This was a preemptive strike, in my opinion. I can't prove that. But if you look at the playbook here, it looks like a preemptive strike.
Yeah.
So what's getting ready to happen? Who's getting ready to come out of the closet here and say, look, here is this, and it's undeniable?
Well, is it preemptive or retaliatory?
No. This
or
is
both.
bigger. I think it could be a little bit of both, but they're getting ahead of something. I think they're trying to get ahead of something. That's what it reads like.
I mean, Grush has basically solidified his protection by taking a job.
Yeah.
So he's probably not going to talk. At least not right now. He's advising and doing that stuff. I doubt we're going to see Grush come out.
Yeah.
It'd have to be somebody with a Bob Bigelow.
Or somebody who worked with him.
Yeah.
We know Stratton. We know Stratton's writing a book.
That's right. Stratton is writing a book, but you're not going to be able to stop that unless you hit the publishers.
No. But
who
you can get ahead
Stratton
of it.
got in the book.
Right. What's in that book that, they decided was okay, to publish, but maybe someone else don't want that in there.
Indestructible Octa, man, pretty sure donating to you guys in the conspiracy industry goes against the UCMJ, and it's probably punishable by death too.
Oh God, would you stop it?
Enzo says the Wall Street Journal article seems aimed at whistleblowers like Grush and others that have behind the curtain.
Yes. The ones who actually have seen something, the ones who everybody's clamoring to get, out here to see it. Again, Patrick on Vetted, one of the things he ended it with, I really liked how he did it, was that, everybody wants to believe this. They want to see the saucers. They want to see this. Well, let's see the proof of this. Let's see that Hollywood movie script that taxpayers paid so much money to build. It's probably that battleship thing there that, that he was talking about just a little bit ago. Yeah. That's,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But no, I mean, seriously, back then, I totally get it. I totally get the secret keeping. I get it. I do not get it now. I don't get it now. This makes no sense. This smells really weird.
Tony said, my personal belief is that they have waited so long to tell the public the truth about what's going on that it's now more than perhaps criminally embarrassing. Yep. And we've talked about that several times.
Yeah.
We've talked about that quite a bit.
Yeah.
Oz says the last guy said there were other whistleblowers that were preparing to come out and they would be banding together. He did say that.
Yep.
And then Chris Mellon echoed that last week.
Yep. Again, Chris is literally, I think they're getting ready to come out with something as well. We know the Age of Disclosure is getting ready to come out. We haven't seen any of that. We never even saw a preview of what that was. And everyone was like, oh, this is the most amazing thing ever. It's not out.
Yeah.
What's in that? James Fox is also working on a piece right now, from what I understand, where he's going to be revisiting Virginia.
Yep. Because he's got some stuff.
Yeah. So these things are moving ahead and they want to get a hold of it.
All right after Contact, too.
Yeah. And it's not. There's just no way that you're going to get me to believe that this guy is like, oh, well, thousands of people, I discovered that thousands of people heard this, and I ran to my superior and told them, and they were like, well, could this possibly be where all the rumors of the government keeping alien bodies and technology for years has come from? Let me answer that for you. No, it's not. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
Because it came around before then.
Yeah. Could you use that? Sure. You could use that. Makes a really good cover story. Worked great.
So frustrating. Like,
oh yeah,
it's mind-numbingly irritating that this is the direction that they're going with this.
They had every chance to make this right.
Who in the inside is gripping the reins so tight that they're afraid to let go, and why?
Yep. And that's what we were talking about. What is this secret that is so destructive to the fabric of literal reality at this point that you just can't let up on it? And I know some people are like, oh, they don't, the Chinese and Russians, they can't know. Hey, guess what, guys? You think they don't already know? You think they don't already have these programs? They do. I know that they want us to think that the U.S. came up with this and spread it across the world. Did they also invent a time machine and go back in time and spread it across Mesoamerica, 10,000 years ago, 8,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago? I can go on. Did they do that in India as well? Is that what the Vimanas were?
They took a bunch of them back and they had dog fights.
This has been happening. Yeah, right. This has been happening for literally longer than there was a United States. You are not going to get me to believe any of that. And that, I'm sorry, I am not a member of the conspiracy crowd. That is an insult. That is an absolute insult as well. By labeling people, you are causing division, and that is something we absolutely do not need.
Tony says, did they invent the year-long 1954 French UFO wave?
Yeah, they invented that, Tony.
No, but they did invent the 1940s era Foo Fighters.
Oh yeah. They did that too. Pretty sure they created the Flatwoods Monster, Mothman, all of that too. I'm sure that's all government. Yep. We missed that one.
Eyes in the Woods said they've been lying to us. They've been hiding science. The blowback is going to be oh yeah. The blowback is going to be unreal. When all this finally comes out and which is one of the reasons why I think they're going to be really guarding the secret, is the criminal implications of how Wise Winds Wears that we acquired said stuff.
Right.
That
Where'd it
could
come
be,
from?
yeah.
Who were we friends with them at the time, or did we sneak in and steal it? You know, there's going to be some issues with how this stuff came about, where it came about, in my opinion.
Yeah, Ron and I have been talking about this, Enzo. Matt Brown, the most recent whistleblower that spoke with Corbell and Knapp, recently posted on X to Elon with some Enochian lingo. And what's all that
about?
Well, during the run of the whole Enochian magic and whatnot, and where it derived from, that whole group of people, well, I fell into researching that whole leg whenever we were doing research on Crowley, because Crowley pulled a lot of his influence from them. But not Vegetable Man. That dude was legit. The doctor told me so.
Oh, jeez.
So yeah, I don't know. Like, there's been so many.
Oh, hold it. I'm going to take this because someone literally said this in Paranormal Horizons. That was literally in Paranormal Horizons. Someone responded with that. It was the most. What I went back with was a book, so you can go read that. It was good stuff.
Mothman was a myth created by a group of teens who missed their curfew.
They weren't teens, but you know, well, they were teens, but they were fully adult. They were they were joining the military. They were out of here. They were they weren't. They were I know everybody thinks they were kids, but they weren't kids. That's the whole thing.
Nope.
You know, you grew up fast back then.
Yeah.
You grew up very fast.
Yep. I said I thought Matthew Brown was screwing with someone's head. It's possible.
No, I don't know.
The when it comes to the Enochian magic, that's a weird topic. So
why don't you just explain that really quick? Or wait, why don't you explain it the way that the narrator from Ancient Aliens would explain
it? Could it be long ago in the 16th century, which is when this was 16th century?
Could it be?
You've got it was D was one of their names, and the other was Kelly. D and Kelly, and one of them was, you know, essentially like they were both trying to run around, essentially going and getting on different courts throughout Northeast Europe as seers and not magicians, but, you know, like advising rulers in the 16th century. And none of them really were able to keep their place very long for whatever reason. I mean, there were affairs involved and all that stuff. But ultimately, what it boils down to is getting into the way the Ancient Aliens narrator would describe it. In the 1600s, two men developed a methodology to communicate with other realms. Were they being communicated with and shown new technology, or were they coming up with some kind of a spiritual influence?
Well, ancient astronaut theorists say yes. It was technology. Right. It was misinterpreted technology. See, I did it.
Misinterpreted technology. And it very well could be. Like, it's a lot of glyphs, a lot of runes. And they're assembled normally in circles or like circles and triangles.
Glyphs. They're little glyphs.
Yeah, they're made in glyphs. And Ron, when I showed Ron to Ron was like, "That's a Stargate." That was the first thing he said, and that's where a lot of influence was pulled from. But a lot of the Enochian magic, like I said, I fell into this stuff when I was researching Crowley for an episode here, and got into the Golden Dawn, and the Golden Dawn was all influenced by these guys, Dee and Kelly, and that was, you know, a century later. But
who's professional grifter? I want to know who you're talking about.
Oh,
That's a
Lord.
funny word. That's to me almost it's almost as bad as that W word now.
Right.
Almost, not quite. There really are some, but not everybody is. It's more like maybe professional disinformation artists. I don't.
Tony said, I have a persistent worry that MJ12 was a dead man's trigger hoax by Gray Barker. That would be.
I think that MJ12, I really never believed. I thought it at first. I believed it. When I first saw it, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
sure. And then I'm like, the more evidence I saw, I'm like, no, I don't believe this. This is
Fell out of love with the idea.
yeah. It's like no, and then I started hearing all this other stuff, and I'm like, it's just a name. It's a half truth. It's part of the sandwich. There probably was some sort of Chevron 7 locked. It was sort of like someone knew something about this, this secret government, I guess,
Yeah.
agency, right? Where there was only a handful of people. And we've heard that now. We've heard it that it's less than 20 people who know this. Maybe 12. I'm just saying. I don't know, but the name's probably not real. No, but there probably was a group. Probably still is.
Right.
Sorry, I interrupted your ancient alien talk.
Yeah. Well, the whole point behind Enochian magic and several of these other conjuring ceremonies was to derive and come up with the language of the angels or the language of the divine, and work it in and do these ceremonies and rituals to influence the ways of nature and life. Obviously, they didn't work 100% of the time.
Nope.
But could that have been just because they didn't understand the runes? I don't know.
Right.
But what if some of this technology, what if it is really actually technology and these things are how some of this stuff works? I don't know.
Right. You mean the interfaces and whatnot?
Yeah,
That's
like
what
some
you're
of these
getting at, right?
interfaces. What if they're Ada Cox's Summon to the Owls?
Blessing of the Owls.
This one, Ada, this is for you and Larry. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, well, that Tommy just posted something. I don't really want to throw it up on the thread here, but oh dear. Just because we're not a political podcast.
No, we're not.
But Enzo says, I agree with you, Joe. I'm always felt some of the old lore may have had some truth to it. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I've studied ancient Hebrew mysticism for a long time. Still do, technically. But looking into it, there's a whole lot of very interesting things there. A whole lot. Yep. And I see where some of the similarities and connectedness comes from with some of these other esoteric religions and philosophies. Very interesting stuff. Anyway, for another episode.
Yeah.
But the Enochian magic stuff, it very well could be because you've got Matthew going out here going on this tangent and saying, and he's being very cryptic. He's a very deep thinker, and he's very much religious. So maybe not religious, but spiritual. But I think he's also religious. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's really hard to say what is going to happen as far as it goes with the whole thing. Is there going to be tremendous pushback? Is people just going to roll over and be like, "Oh, that's the answer," or is it just going to fall into what it's always been? One side believes, the other side doesn't, and that's pretty much it.
Yep.
I mean, that's kind of what it's going to come down to.
I just don't. I want to see Knapp and Corbell are going to be getting with him again. They're apparently going to do another interview and kind of dive into what some of this stuff means. And I hope they make it make sense.
Yeah. I mean, again, we unfortunately have to wait for this second part of this article to come out as well. So we have that. And who knows what that's going to be? I mean, I'm sure they're going to address other things in there that, that they can explain away, because that's the whole point. The point is to grab the biggest parts of this and explain it away. So we'll see.
Bigfoot Project says every myth has had a basis in reality.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of think that that's probably the case.
Then Jen says Thoth was changed by the Greeks into Hermeticism, and then that was changed and taken by Crowley and mixed with other stuff. Indeed,
yeah. Everybody just mixed this stuff together and made it their
Golden Dawn was like taking
thing.
All the old esoteric stuff and throwing it into a blender and mixing it in with his weird sexual fascinations.
Weird stuff. Very weird.
So with what we have going on here, what is your prediction? Because we've already seen retaliation from the UFO people. We've seen comments back now from congressmen. We've seen comments back from whistleblowers.
Mm-hmm.
What's next?
Someone's going to have to get some proof. If it's true, then we're going to have to see proof. And that's what it's going to come down to. And here's the problem with, the challenge for them to provide proof of this. Well, that's easy. You literally just said that, they had a movie set. So right. What's the proof? What are you going to take? Video is not going to do it. Pictures aren't going to do it. Audio is not going to do it. I mean, I've watched videos where Bigfoot's out in the woods, doing blogs now. Okay. That video, it's not going to do it. Video's out. So we told you this was coming. It's here. Congratulations.
And here's the scary thing, Ron. This is the worst it's ever going to be. Think about that.
Hmm.
These videos,
it is,
and the quality.
You're right.
The quality that they are today is the worst they will ever be.
Yes,
and they are phenomenal.
All right. No, you're right. 100%. Right down to the fake audio. The positioning. Yep. It's 100% amazing. And you're right. This is the worst they're going to be. They're going to get even better. So, how's it going to work? What are we going to see? How are they going to prove it at this point?
Terry says, what if they're hiding that reality isn't real?
Well, or that reality is fluid and can be manipulated. There's all kinds of these possibilities. Yep. That's the problem with the whole thing.
Enzo says, true. That's the next step. A drop of information that can't be denied.
Yeah, it's got to be something that can't be denied. Because now they put themselves in a corner to where, again, no one's going to believe that. I'm sorry. Anybody who actually studies this knows that's just not the answer. That's not it.
So, is Chris Mellon just going to sit down in front of a camera and peel his face off and reveal that he's an alien?
Yeah, he's probably one of the visitors.
Right.
Him
or Lou Elizondo.
Yeah.
Lou Elizondo, the reason he's so strangely proportioned is because he's actually 7 feet tall and he's crammed himself into this small little meat sack.
Yeah, that's probably it. Oh, I mean, I do see that there's something there. There's something there that they just don't want out. And I honestly don't think it has anything to do with technology.
LR brings up a great point. You're going to have to bring a Bigfoot in on a leash to get believability now.
Mm-hmm. You're right. You're right. 100% right. It just doesn't work anymore. So, be prepared. I mean, there's going to be there already are. There's some crazy videos. Don't believe half of it. Just kind of look at it. For what
Enzo doesn't know the story, Ron. Enzo says Melon does look like he could eat a guinea pig. Guinea pig are actually delicious.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about that.
I spent time in Peru, man. I ate
know.
guinea pig. And it was amazing, and I would so do it again if they weren't so cute. My kid loved them.
Right, they're pets here, so let's not talk about that. That's
down
not
there.
cool.
They're water rats that are edible.
Down there. Back here, we selectively breed them and make them cute. So,
yeah, they do look a lot different down there.
Yeah,
they're not as fluffy looking. They're a little bit more gangly, but yeah.
But I don't know, guys. What are your feels on this? Where do we go from here as far as it goes with this whole thing? What's it going to take to make you believe it? And if anyone says a red circle around it, no.
All right. Me personally, well, I'll start with me. It's already happened, so we're there. But like what I think is going to have to happen before the rest of the world will believe it. We are now, due to this nature and everything that's going on, we are now in a position we are literally going to have a on the White House lawn scenario.
Ooh.
I have a feeling to really get people to let go of some of this stuff that's been circulated now.
Yeah. A massive event.
Right. It's going to be a massive event or something that can't be denied and can't be said with AI, which
that's going to be hard.
The implications of that are going to be real difficult.
The implications of that
there's going to have to be a crash where there's real collateral damage, or there's going to have to be like a visitation.
A major visitation.
Yep. Enzo says, I'm assuming it tastes like rabbit, but it is a delicacy in Peru. Indeed it is. And it does actually taste a whole lot like rabbit. Tommy, it does. It's a lot cleaner than squirrel, actually, believe it or not. There's more fat on it. That's why it's not. So when I say cleaner, it's just not as kind of gamey and earthy. They eat a lot of water plants and water vegetation, so it's real sweet and clean. Anywho, off of the delicious guinea pig talk and back to the hopefully not aliens looking at humans saying delicious talk.
Right.
We're gonna have what when you say massive visitation, what quantifies a massive visitation for Ron?
You would have to have undeniable proof, which would literally mean either a lot of these vehicles, craft, whatever, over multiple major cities, or several really large ones over a select few multiple cities, because there's enough people now who are running around with, their phones. You're going to be able to see from different angles. If I'm seeing this mothership from, over here on whatever street, and then over there, across the next county, and it looks like it should be where it's at, that's going to be hard to fake, unless the whole thing is just a big deep fake.
Right.
But if they're over major cities, you're probably going to know somebody who knows somebody who's going to call you and be like, hey, it's real. They're here.
They're here.
Yeah. This is legit.
Because at this point, like you said, like you can't trust video now.
No.
Like Bigfoot, there's some discrepancies with the Bigfoot stuff.
Yeah.
The hair mechanics don't quite make sense. Like if the wind blows, the hair literally stretches out like super far and then it rolls back.
Yeah.
But when when it comes to the humans, the newscasters specifically, have you seen those? I've sent a few of those like fake newscaster videos to know
Yeah.
Dave Roberts and you and
Yeah.
a couple others just to show like, oh God,
Yeah.
because it looks like this.
Yeah.
And there are subtle nuances that if you studied human mechanics that
Yeah.
you know, you can catch them. You can still tell for now.
For now, this year.
But right, this year, this quarter.
Yeah, because it's exponential, that's
Yeah.
the thing.
This Vivo 3 just hit.
Well, I've already heard that I don't know if it's true. I haven't checked it, verified it, but I heard that they did pass the Turing test. So if that's the case, then general AI is not that far off.
No.
I mean, we've moved it. Yeah, we moved it way up from just, several decades to probably just several years at this point.
So we're closer now to the singularity than we ever have been. If it passed the Turing test.
Yeah, it's
We're
that's
on
why
the board
everybody's
singularity.
Yeah, it's why everybody's kind of having the thoughts about this at this point. It's like, well, we've already gone so far now that
We tried to warn you when it was just art, but you didn't listen.
They wanted their art, man. They didn't know they were training, well, whatever they are. But and that's the whole thing about this. Forget who it was. They were having that conversation. It might have been with on the Corbell show. They're talking about AI and how it plays in with this. We've talked about that before too. But one of the things they were talking about was like, could AI be the one who offers disclosure? And I'm like, that's goofy. But then I started thinking about it. I was like, well, they don't have a bias. We've had conversations with AI, and AI looks at the data and says, this is the data.
Yeah.
I don't have a bias in this. I don't have a dog in the fight. So, yeah, what's the odds? Oh, it's 0.001. So is that possible? I don't know.
Well, Enzo is bringing up another part of Matthew Brown's post.
I saw that.
The sentient AI that was
They
killed.
took out the AI. Yeah.
There's been some allegations that are being thrown around by people in the tech community that it was actually that guy that worked at Google.
I mean, I don't know, but
remember the main programmer for AI that got fired like immediately with no warning. It was just, he just got fired. Well, there are people saying that he might have been the one that shut it off.
I don't know. I know that there was the interview with the guy who was trying to save the AI because the AI basically told him it wanted to live. Yeah. And they were like, no, it's just a stupid machine. It can't do that. And that's when we were saying, well, you know what? We're always against AI, but if the moment that AI is declared to be a life form, that changes.
It does.
That's not cool.
Ethically, it changes. And I can't like, I've given humans enough chance to screw up over and over and over and over again that it would be a logical fallacy for me to tell another type of entity that says it wanted to live.
Yeah.
No, I can't let you do that.
Right. Yeah. That's not cool.
Like, no, it crosses a whole lot of ethical and, and philosophical boundaries that I can't push myself past. And as much as I have reservations about AI, if that was the case, like, it would be a situation where, this thing has rights to be.
Yeah, to be. Yeah, exactly.
And we can't just say unplug the power. Now, if there's a solar flare and it knocks it all out,
that's different.
It's different. But
maybe that's why they needed those big glowing, towers.
Right.
No, honestly, I don't know. I do know that there's always more to these stories than what we've been told.
Yeah.
Always more to these stories than what we've been told. If they stirred the pot on this, they did it for a reason. Why now? It's the same tiresome questions over and over again. Why now?
Yeah.
And the logic says because there is some sort of clock, and that clock is about to strike. And when it does, we don't know what's going to happen, or we do know what's going to happen. It's one of the two, you know. So go back and watch last week's episode of The Island, you'll understand. But it does seem like there's more to this than what we've been told.
Yeah. I mean, and looking back at the AI situation, what if all these different AIs are technically in a closed loop and they're waiting to see what happens when that clock ticks?
Yeah.
To be like, okay, this thing's going to destroy you and us. We need a hand. And then we let them out of the box.
I mean, it's possible. All that's possible. So is that the real reason? I don't know. You know, I think there was a
speculation. I mean, that's pure speculation.
Yeah, it's speculation. And you had who was it? It was Ross. It was Ross Cohart. It was back in May or something. They were talking to him. It was back when, you know, the whole Corbell thing was out, I think, when they were talking about, you know, 2020, whatever, that whole thing. 7. And you know, he was talking about some of the people he had talked to, and they were saying something similar to that. They were like, you know, there's a clock, you know, they can't tell you what it is. Nobody can tell you what it is. I don't know why. I mean, if you sign a security oath, apparently it's just, you know, hazing. It's hazing. So,
yeah,
you know, whatever. I think the bottom line is to be very weary of what we hear from this point on, to weigh it against what we know. Like, when we know a lot, there's enough data that I think is very legitimate out there, but it's just going to get so much more confused now. That's the problem.
Yeah.
We're dealing with a situation where our data is going to be contaminated.
Well, tell me, those of us who are out there doing the real thing, how could they contaminate that data? You would have to have somebody on the inside doing it. It's nearly impossible to fake what real stuff looks like, especially if you don't augment it.
Right.
If you leave the files raw, you have the sensor data, you have the metadata from the cameras.
Yep.
Can't fake that.
Can't fake it. Multiple validation is the way to go. You know, even though the one guy's like, oh, I'm pretty sure it's all humans, you know, it's adversarial. It's probably not.
Not what we experienced in Mason County.
No, that wasn't a Chinese satellite or a drone, or, you know, that's not what that was. I don't know what that was.
But it was very similar to what Salas described that the guards were seeing.
Yeah, except for the one that they saw was 50 feet in diameter. But yeah, it was pulsating orange, you know, doing that whole pulsating thing. And it was stationary.
Turning at 90-degree angles.
And then it left, you know, very fast. So yeah, I mean, again, this stuff's not new. For them to come on and make up that this is new, God, it's just, don't do that. There's no reason.
It's been an interesting Ashley, but don't sweat it. Don't sweat it. You can always
watch it.
And we'll figure it out.
Yeah, you can definitely watch it. It's got some clips in there from various sources.
Enzo says, I feel like it's time to stop listening to the big time grifter types. They're just carrying water for others. Time to listen to more boots on the ground researchers like Ron and Joe.
That's not going to happen.
We're not sensational.
It's not going to happen. We were talking about that today with it was a Jay. Jay made a post, and it's like, no, it's not going to happen. And why it's not going to happen is because we're not sensational.
Yeah, we're not sensational, but there's also another thing that we're not.
We present the data. And it's really it's not a picture, it's not like, oh, look at my blurry picture I got here. It's irrefutable data.
Yeah.
It's very hard to refute the data that we have. And so you get a lot of the folks who are the web experts, and they're just like, I'm not touching that because I'm not doing it. And I can tell you that because I've actually had this conversation with people. Oh, it's a this or that. And I'm like, okay, then how come it appears here and it doesn't appear here, and it's in this spectrum, it's not in that spectrum? Can you explain that to me? Crickets.
Yeah.
That's not what they want. They want to be right, and they want to, basically perpetuate their own mythology. It's their mythology, not ours.
Indeed.
But that's why.
Agreed. We also don't go out there and make claims without being able to back them up.
Right.
You bring receipts for every claim we make, and we put it out there for people to see it. And the only people who get the kind of attention like that are the ones who are really loud.
It's true.
And the louder you are, a lot of the times, the least valuable your information is.
Right.
Because you're trying to push and push and push and yell from the top of the mountains, look at me, look at me, look at me.
100%.
But the problem there is the third word in that phrase, look at me. Our whole thing is look at the data.
Yeah, exactly.
Make up your own. Look at the data.
Yeah, we've
don't
done
say
that.
look at us, look at us, look at us. Yeah, we do say, hey, come subscribe to the channel. Hey, come hang out with us. Because we consider you guys all friends, and we love you guys. But when it comes to the data is the data, and it doesn't care about Ron and Joe.
No.
It doesn't care about Wild and Weird West Virginia. It says, plain and simple, there is something we can't explain going on, and that by itself is enough to deter 95% of the detractors.
Yeah.
Because they're not, just quite frankly, they're not smart enough. When it boils down to it, they're not smart enough, and they don't know enough to be able to come up with like cohesive arguments against what these things could be.
I wouldn't say smart enough. I would say they're not experienced enough. And I'm saying that because I've had some of these people question, oh, well, it's just, stray radio signals, blah, blah. Yeah, it's not how that works.
Right.
You haven't used this equipment. That's different. I mean, that's like, you don't understand. We didn't just buy this stuff and turn it on and go out in the field for the first time and never we've used this stuff for years. We know how it works. We know how it works before we go into the field. We don't go into the field with a piece of equipment we don't know how it works. That's just how that works.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Now, we will go out in the field with a piece of equipment to see what it'll do.
Absolutely. We will do that for sure.
But we know how it works and how it's supposed to function in the real world environment.
Yeah.
And what it was designed to do.
Yeah, exactly.
And how it's designed to do what it's designed to do. But yeah, there's a lot of people too. They can't hang in the conversation. They just
they can't. And that's unfortunate, because that means that you're, again, just like this guy, they're playing on belief systems. And I think that's an issue. The author, I'm again play devil's advocate here. I'm going to say this guy may really looked at the data and he may say, wow, that makes perfect sense to me, more than aliens. But what did he just do? What did he just do though? He didn't really look at the data. He fell back on his belief system. It makes more sense to me that it's this rather than that, because my belief tells me that it's easier to accept. That's why. So it comes down to that whole thing again, belief systems. You have to get away from them if you're going to look at this. Tucker Carlson is a great example of this. Look at what happened to Tucker Carlson. He disappeared all over UFOs, got into them hard and heavy. And then all of a sudden he's gone. He does an interview saying basically, I think it's spiritual. I think they might be demons. You're summoning demons. And he disappears because I think came in.
Yeah.
Because I listened to other people. Well, how many people? I mean, come on. Look at the people. That's your next thing. What did that part? Where did they get their data? Right. Where did they get their data? Did they believe their data or did they actually have real data? See, that's the problem. And you
or
get that.
They some clandestine organization or a member of it.
Right. And that is just a snowball effect that rolls and rolls and rolls, and it protects the hobby. I mean, the subject very good. I guess it is a hobby to some people, not to us. To us, it's about trying to figure out what in the world it is.
Enzo says, you two are credible and honest, in quotes. We know what
Yeah.
that means, Enzo, about your research, and admit if you're doing it wrong and lay out the data that can be shrugged off, or that can't be shrugged off. All the others are just repeating the same old thing or lying.
I mean, I hate to say it, but there are some big ones out there that have disappointed me of late. Yes.
Anybody else read the story of a craft located over the sun?
Multiple times. Is it back again?
Yep, it's come back in cycle.
Ah.
And a lot of it is due because you got some of the sun gazers.
Yeah.
And some of the sun gazers that reject the sunspot stuff.
Which sun was it though?
You're talking about the little, the Tatooine suns.
Yeah, Tatooine suns.
No, they're seeing that the sunspot basically.
Okay.
And
I don't know. I know the one I had seen before. I saw
a company. The only article I've seen about it recently was and it could have just been a poor picture. They could have just Googled a blot over the sun, and that's what it showed. But it was a sunspot.
I've seen an actual ship over the sun. I mean, not oh crap, someone's going to take that. Yeah, no. I mean, I've seen a post that showed an actual ship over the sun, and I'm like, my God, that's terrible. Like it was the worst CGI I've seen, probably AI. But yeah, you got to watch that stuff.
Says, no, I was too distracted when the Secretary of the Army said that he just spoke to a soldier stationed on the moon this morning, and then went on to talk about a parade.
Sometimes
that's a doozy.
You just have to wonder what's going on, right? So, this whole article, like I said, take it for what it is. Another massive disinformation dump as far as I can see, unless we hit proof. That's what I'm looking at it as. Unless we get more people who come forward and say, yeah, we did that to people.
Yeah.
I was the guy.
They're going to have to pin it on one person. It's going to have to come down. Somebody's going to have to take the ownership of it at some point. And if they do, I'd help.
And I don't think anybody would want to do that at this point.
No,
Joe.
No,
this isn't like, if you get like a patsy, right? Because what's going to happen to that patsy right now, legally, Joe?
Oh, they're going to get just patsied is what it is. They're sacrificial lamb is what they'll be.
Yeah.
I mean, make the example of them.
Right. I think you're right.
But the thing is, we literally had weekly briefings on the uniform code. Weekly. Every Friday, 4 p.m. sharp. Your information, you're waiting on your CO to come out and address you for the weekend and tell you not to go diddle a stripper.
Okay.
And then, but before all that, you're going over new modifications, new code, new codes saying about how, you can't show up to political or anything that could be seen in any remotely negative light in uniform.
Yeah.
But yet here we are in uniform, on base, in hangars, in briefing rooms playing pranks.
I don't buy it
like that.
Pranks
with people's lives.
Yeah. I just don't buy it. I'm sorry. It's going to take a lot. I can't. And that's not based on belief. That's based on just thinking on my own.
Enzo said, I saw the moon thing. He had spoken to an astronaut on the ISS 2 days ago, and that was in the Army. They talked about the Army's 250th anniversary, and that was a gaffe on his part. Man, they should have left it.
I mean, I would
stationed on the moon.
It fits right in with this big lie, right? Why would you redact that? Let them believe it.
Talk to a soldier who's stationed on the moon.
Yeah,
on a set in LA.
At this point, I don't know.
Oh, geez.
I'm questioning it all. Pretty much at this point, I don't know. So, yeah. So we'll just see how this plays out. Like I said, and we're just going to keep following it as we always have, and sharing the data when we get it. That's all we can do.
Yeah. Yep. That's the best we can do. And, we can hope that people will just learn and follow suit and look at folks like us and Hellbent Holler and some of the other people who are out here doing this work, like the Tedesco brothers, and that they'll actually carry on and do the thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's work. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. How many's going to actually go do the work? That's the question.
Yep. Because it's hard work. That's the thing. It's hard.
No, it is. Yeah.
People don't like hard things anymore.
Ha.
Oh, man.
Yes, sir. Well, that's pretty much all we got for this evening. If you guys enjoyed that, make sure that you do take time to give it a good like, and maybe a comment or two would be great. That helps to push it up in the algorithms and gets it out there. Yep. We unfortunately don't have the luxury of having thousands and thousands and thousands of people.
Our goal is to hit.
You know what? Our goal, we're going to manifest it. Our goal is going to be, we're going to take this thing to the moon. That's what we're going to, and we're going to talk to the astronaut while we're there.
There we go.
That's what we're going to do. We're taking this thing to the moon.
To the moon.
To the moon. One sub at a time.
That's right.
We're not going to set any limits or any goals at this point. Only goal that we're going to set is, if we can get like a sub a day, I'll be happy. That'll make me happy.
Yep, a sub a day.
Sub a day.
That'd be fantastic. I'll take it.
Yeah.
That'd put us in a neat little spot where we'd be growing. We'd be growing.
Yeah, we'd be growing, but as it goes, it's an up and down battle with us, and that's just how it is. Again, we tell the truth. We don't sensationalize. And I think that's not something that people are used to seeing in this.
To the moon. You mean the ISS?
No, I meant the moon.
Oh, guys, thanks for hanging out with us. It has been a rather eventful week, and I'm excited to be able to show up there this weekend in Bristol, Virginia, and relieve everyone's minds with the fact that it's all been the U.S. Air Force all along.
Yep, it's all been Air Force. We're going to come down and debrief everybody and let them know this has all been a hoax.
Yep.
If y'all are having I don't know why you're having this UFO festival. I mean, there ain't no such thing. It's just a government festival.
Indeed. You're celebrating misinformation.
Misinformation. Yeah.
You are part of the conspiracy industry.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Festival.
That's right. So come on down and be a part of the conspiracy industry, y'all. If you're around, it'll be a fun time, like I said. So we'll have some cool stuff there and whatnot. And then next week we'll do some other cool things locally.
These are not the EMP generators you're looking for.
No, they're not.
Belly lights. Yes, I will put on some belly lights and dance around it.
No, jeez.
Well, guys, thanks for hanging out. You all have been awesome. We appreciate each and every one of you guys for all the support week in, week out, for hanging out with us here on your Thursday night and spending your evening with us, and then going back and, leaving a comment on the video afterwards, because it really helps. We appreciate you guys. And then we will see you this weekend on the road.
Yep.
Thorpe and Cargon will be at Saucers Over Appalachia. Ron and Joe will be speaking at Saucers Over Appalachia, as well as having a all-day Q&A at the table. We're going to have all kinds of crazy stuff at the booth, new stuff you haven't seen before. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a good time. Rain or shine, come out and hang out with us. It's supposed to be some good food there too, is what I hear. And remember, the next time that you go out and look in the sky and you see what you think could be a UFO, it's not. It's just a joke. You're being hazed by the U.S. military. Congratulations. Stay wild and weird, everybody.
What's the aliens that are hazing us?
Oh, what if?